What's happening, everyone? My name is Alex and welcome back. So for the past few months we got a variety of smartphone stabilizers, but of course two of the biggest players in this field are the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 and the Insta360 Flow. Now at the time of this video both devices retail for $159. So which one offers the best value for your money? Well, we are definitely gonna find out in today's video by checking out the features for each device and what each device can do, and of course what the other one can't do. Let's start by checking out both devices and see which one is easier to set up and basically get ready to use. Okay, so let's start by looking at the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. So of course this is a foldable gimbal, this way it's a bit smaller so you can maybe keep it in your pocket. So how do you use this? Well, you grab a hold of the top of the gimbal and then you kind of lift up. So you do need two hands for this. After the gimbal is on, you basically get the phone clamp. This is a magnetic clamp and you attach to the back of the gimbal. So that's how you start using the gimbal. Basically then of course the phone will be nice and steady whenever you're doing any movement. To remove this, you basically pull on this and then you fold this back up. So you kind of need both hands to be able to do this with this gimbal. You've also noticed that you cannot attach the phone clamp to the gimbal when it's folded. So you basically have to keep the clamp here in your pocket. You always have to bring that clamp with you, or I guess you can keep it on your phone, but your phone doesn't look that appealing like this. On top of that, if you want to use a tripod, so there is a tripod that comes in the box with this, but you're going to have to keep this in your pocket as well, and then this attaches to the bottom of the gimbal here. So this is how you use the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. Now let's look at the Insta360 Flow and see how you use that one. Okay, so the Insta360 Flow is also a foldable gimbal, and this one is also a bit smaller when folded when compared to the other one. So maybe it's gonna be a bit easier to keep this in your pocket. So how do you use this one? Well, opening this up and setting this up is also slightly faster and easier than the other gimbal. So this one you just lift this up, and then you get the phone clamp and you attach it to the gimbal. So that easy. Now a big advantage that I found with this gimbal is the fact that the phone clamp here can stay on the gimbal when the gimbal is folded. So this way you're not gonna have to keep that phone clamp in your pocket. With the other one you have to remove the phone clamp every time. You can even keep the phone on the gimbal when folded if that's something that you want. Typically I remove the phone every time I fold this, so I just power this off and then we can fold it like this and the phone stays with the gimbal, but then you can just remove this if you'd like. But as I said, the clamp can stay here whenever this is folded as well. Now another advantage that you're gonna get with this gimbal is the fact that it has a built-in tripod at the bottom here. So with that other one you do have to carry that tripod in your pocket every time. With this one, the tripod is built in the actual unit, so you can just have this on the floor or something like that and you can use it that way, and you don't have to carry a tripod with you at all times because, well, it's built in the unit. So I feel that the Insta360 Flow is easier and faster to set up and use. Now both devices also have a built-in selfie stick. I'm just gonna move back a bit so you can see both of them like this. So you do have more possibilities whenever you have these open with the selfie sticks. Now another thing that I've noticed, so on one battery charge you can get about 12 hours of usage time on the Insta360 Flow, where on the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 you can only get about 6 hours of usage time. So double the time on this one. Another interesting thing is the fact that from this one you can also charge your smartphone. So we do have a USB-C port here and you'd use that to charge the phone. So this kind of becomes a power bank for your device, where from this one you cannot charge any other device. So power bank, no power bank basically. Alright, so next we're gonna talk about tracking. So first I'm gonna take that phone that's recording this video, I'm gonna put it on this gimbal and I'll show you what this gimbal can do with the tracking. And then I'm gonna use the same phone and of course use this gimbal with it and show you what this phone can do for tracking. So let me switch that camera onto this gimbal. Alright, so in order to use the tracking on both devices, of course, you're gonna have to install the app for each gimbal. In this case, we are using the Insta360 app, and I have the gimbal tracking my scooter. So if I go on the scooter, the gimbal should follow us and see whatever I'm basically doing and just record the scooter at all times. So let's go riding for a bit, see how that tracking works. And we'll kind of go behind the gimbal. With the other gimbal, you're not going to be able to move that far back basically, because the other gimbal doesn't spin as much. So this is how the tracking works on the Insta360 Flow. So let me switch to the other gimbal and we'll see how that other gimbal basically tracks the exact same movement that I've done with this one. Okay, and we are moving on to our DJI gimbal, and once again I do have the gimbal tracking the scooter right now. So I'm gonna jump on the scooter here. We'll just have to turn on the scooter and I'll spin around for a bit. I also know that this gimbal cannot spin as much as the other one, so maybe I'm not gonna go behind the gimbal that far because, well, it cannot spin that far. So we'll go this way. Oh no, I think it lost me. Let's go back here. Let's track this once again. I'm just gonna go to the gimbal and we'll track the scooter once again. So let's do that once again. So I'm still recording. So it's tracking the scooter once again. So I guess we'll go this way. Hopefully it doesn't lose us. So I think it's still spinning with us. And oh no, I think it lost me again, or that's as much as it can track. So I'm back here once again. Let's start the tracking once again. So I'll select the scooter on the screen once again. So now it's tracking the scooter once again. And let's go riding again. See if it doesn't lose us again. So it's tracking us still. Let's go this way again. Oh no, it lost us once again. So yeah, this is how the tracking works on the DJI gimbals. So definitely not as good as the tracking on the other device. Okay, so next on the list we're gonna have the DJI gimbal track my backpack. So let me go on the app here and select my backpack. So I made a square on it. So now it should track the backpack. So no matter what I do with the backpack, it should track it. What happens if we do this? So it's still, I think it just stopped tracking. So basically, if this moves out of frame too much or it changes shape, this gimbal is not going to be able to keep track of that object that well. Let's move to the Insta360 gimbal and see how that one tracks my backpack. Okay, so now we have the Insta360 Flow gimbal set up and we'll do the same. So I'm just gonna go on the phone here and we'll select a square onto the backpack. So hopefully I'm recording. Yes, I am recording. And now the gimbal should move and follow the backpack. What happens if I turn around? Is it still tracking? Yeah, it's definitely tracking. The other gimbal does seem to lose tracking quite fast. What if I do this and this? Yeah, so this one keeps track really well of my backpack. Another tracking feature that's not available on the DJI gimbal, but it is available on the Insta360 Flow, has to do the person re-identification. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna have Laura draw a square on the screen. So basically she's gonna start tracking me with a gimbal. So she has a square on me. And now the gimbal should follow every move that I make. So if I go left, if I go right, the gimbal should follow me. Now, what happens if I leave the room for a few seconds? So I'm gonna leave the room and let's see what the gimbal does. We're gonna count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll come back in the room and let's see if the gimbal recognizes me and tracks me once again. So yes, the gimbal still tracks me even now. So this is a feature that you're not gonna be able to use on the DJI gimbal because it's not available there. Zoom tracking also works quite different on these two gimbals. So the gimbal that we are using now, the Insta360 Flow, allows you to zoom in up to 9 times. So basically as much as your phone allows you to zoom in. The other gimbal only allows you to zoom in up to 3 times. Now, I don't recommend zooming in this far because of course this is digital zoom and you're gonna be losing video quality. But for example, if you're tracking a boat or something that's pretty far, maybe this extra zoom will come in handy. So of course the phone, well, the gimbal will keep track of the scooter that I have set as my tracking object basically. Alright, so I've switched the gimbal to the DJI gimbal now, and I'm gonna zoom in to show you the maximum zoom in for tracking. So this is the maximum zoom for tracking, so 3 times zoom. Now, as I said earlier, it's ideal not to zoom in that much because since we have electronic zooming, basically you're losing video quality. So in a way, it's best not to zoom in that much, but as I said, if you need to follow an object that's super far, maybe that zooming will come in handy, but personally, I don't recommend that you use like 9 times zoom that's available on the Insta360 Flow. So definitely a pretty big difference for the tracking features on these two devices. So the Insta360 Flow does do tracking better. If the subject goes out of frame, it will retain the active tracking. So if the subject comes back in the frame, it will start tracking it again. With the DJI gimbal, if the subject goes out of the frame for a couple of seconds, it will stop tracking that subject altogether. So in many ways, yes, the Insta360 Flow will do tracking better in many situations. Another very interesting feature on the Insta360 Flow, we are actually using the gimbal and the gimbal's app right now, is the ability to actually switch in between lenses without stopping the recordings and without touching the phone. So there is a button that you can press on the gimbal and you can switch to the rear lens. You press that button once again and it switches back to that front camera. We're going to switch back to the rear camera, and now you can also zoom in or zoom out. So we have the little wheel on the gimbal there, and you can zoom in and zoom out. Something that you cannot do with the other gimbal. So with the DJI gimbal, you cannot do this. Every time you want to switch in between camera, so the front or rear camera, you're going to have to stop the recording, switch the camera, and then start the recording once again. So a very useful feature, mostly if you're vlogging and you basically want to show people what's in front of you. So you just press this button here, and then you can even zoom in if you want. So a very useful feature in my opinion. So with the smart wheel on the Insta360 Flow, not only that you can zoom in whenever you're using those rear cameras, of course, zoom in and zoom out, you can also switch in between modes easily. So whenever you're trying to switch a gimbal mode, you can just go forward or backwards. With the DJI gimbal, you basically have one button and you have to go through all the modes. Well, with this one, you can go forward or backwards to get to the mode that you want. Also, whenever you are checking out the footage that you have recorded, you can easily scroll through your footage with that wheel. Once again, with the DJI gimbal, you actually have to do that with your finger on the screen. Like this, you don't actually have to touch your phone screen. Other interesting features that you're going to find on the Insta360 Flow app, and features that aren't really available on the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, are the 360-degree panorama photos. So basically the gimbal will take a variety of pictures and then will stitch those pictures together, and you get a 360-degree picture, so pretty cool. There is also a hoop mode available. Personally, I don't play basketball, so I haven't tried it. And there is also a widescreen mode available. So if you want to film in that for a more artistic view, let's say. So a lot of features built in the Insta360 app. So as gimbals, both gimbals do work really well. If you're buying one of these just to keep your footage steady, both of them do work really well. This recording is done on the Insta360 Flow, but I'm also going to show you a recording done in the exact same spot on the other gimbal. So for this function, they are pretty much identical and they both work really well. But for the price, I feel that the Insta360 Flow, the one that we are using now, offers better value for your money because we do have more features, not to mention that the tracking on this gimbal works much better than the tracking that we have on the DJI gimbal. So which gimbal do you guys prefer? This one, the Insta360 Flow, or the DJI Osmo Mobile? Definitely leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.